welcome. It is Dr. Jen with Aging Advantage. So today we are going to be going over tips for getting our sleep in check and really helping get this whole sleep hygiene thing spiffed up and getting some processes and systems and things and good habits in place to really help us to maximize and get better sleep and get better like deep sleep and longer sleep too at night. So we are going to be diving into those practical tools for you all today. So thank you for joining me. But Jen with Aging Advantage. So Aging Advantage is a nonprofit. We are located in the St. Louis area and we serve St. Louis and surrounding areas. And we are able to do that through grant funding and donations and partnerships that we have with incredible organizations as well. So in doing that, we're able to provide incredible, like I said, content and just educational opportunities for all of you with different, like a lot of different categories. So we, discuss different things with you all, like housing, about like housing insecurities, help you combat like food issues, isolation issues, also a lot of different things too, again, to like teach you about health and to teach you to be like more competent just in doing your daily life, make it safer physically, mentally, emotionally, for yourself and your daily lives, and to really help you also just feel more resilient and like be able to also be along kind of with that independence, more like self-reliant, but for you to also, like I said, kind of feel more confident in that you know what you're doing. And it's like it's safe and it's good to really help you guys be able to age in place as much as possible. And also give you like content and educational opportunities as well for you to be able to, use for your own life, but also for you all to be able to share this information and use as support tools for people that you might be caregiving for, whether that's seniors, disabled adults, or, disabled just, people in general. Or it might even be like just so that, again, you can have like more information and more knowledge to be able to support, like a friend or a family member or someone at church, etc. But, I think definitely, knowledge is power. And so the more you know, like, again, the more you can really support someone else and your own life and help you be healthier. And so that's really what it's all about, helping you all less, like live your best little lives out there and, and do it in a happy, fulfilled feeling way. So today, like I said, we are diving into this next part about sleep hygiene. And again, just going over some things that you can actually do and implement to get it going. So get cozy, get comfy, and sit back, relax, and grab your drink. And let's get started for today. Okay. All right. So with this tips for better sleep hygiene, what we're going to be looking at is there's a lot of different things, as you guys know. And some of these you may have heard of, but some of these, you may not really have thought of before. So we're going to kind of keep it, like I said, kind of put it in these different areas here. So let's go through each one here. The first one is going to be having a consistent schedule. So the first tip is to go to bed and wake up roughly about the same time every day, even on the weekends, like we talked about in the first one. So I want to spend a little time on this one because it's probably the single most powerful sleep hygiene habit that you can build that and it's, for a lot of people, it's, like in theory, this should be relatively easy and it's free, but it's like honestly one of the absolute hardest ones for people to stick with. And, here's why it matters so much. So your body runs on what is called the circadian rhythm. So that's kind of like your, internal biological clock. And you heard me talk a little bit about circadian rhythm again, like in the first video. So if you didn't watch that one, reminder, go back and watch that one, either now or after you watch this one, just so you can kind of put all the information together. But um, the circadian rhythm or this kind of internal biological clock is really what regulates, not just when you feel sleepy or when you need to like wake up, but also it also regulates important things here, your body's temperature, your hormone levels, your digestion, and like a whole lot more stuff. So when your sleep schedule is consistent, your circadian rhythm stays well calibrated. So think about that. In general, just kind of overall high level. So your body knows when to start winding down because it knows when to start releasing those sleep hormone melatonin. We've all heard of melatonin by now. And when you wake up, then it helps you to kind of feel refreshed. So that's kind of an example of how this like little cycle kind of clock kind of works. So, however, when your schedule is a hot mess and it is all over the place, like you stay up super late on Friday, you sleep until 10 or noon on Saturday, then you struggle to fall asleep Sunday night, you're essentially like giving yourself social jet lag, if you will, because your internal clock gets so confused and then you like pay for it all week long during the week. Or at least, Monday through Wednesday through, or maybe Thursday, you're trying to like get it back together. And, that makes for a crummy week. So the good news is you don't have to be perfect about this. And again, life happens. But if you can aim to keep your wake time at least consistent, so the time you wake up, you can keep that at least consistent. And even if your bedtime is going to vary a little bit, that goes like a really long way to helping with this whole situation for consistent scheduling. So waking up at the same time every morning is kind of the anchor puzzle piece that really helps to keep your whole sleep wake cycle on track. So just know that. So again, if you're going to, screw up the wake up time or the sleeping, go to sleep time, keep your wake up time the same every day if possible, no matter, obviously like you want to try to keep it better, to go to bedtime, but if your go to bedtime kind of varies a little bit one way or the other way, fine, but keep your wake up time the same as much as possible. Now, if you're retired or your schedule is more flexible, this tip is especially for you people because without having a structure whatsoever, like of the work schedule, right? It can be really easy to let your sleep times drift all over the place. Like you're going to sleep time, your waking up time, etc. So, having that consistent anchor is like a gift you can just give yourself. Another one here that we're going to cover next is a restful environment. And, creating a bedroom environment that genuinely supports sleep. So your bedroom should feel like a calm, peaceful sanctuary. And again, your brain needs to associate your bedroom as a place with rest and calm and, relaxation in there. So let's talk about some key elements. So darkness is huge. I'm going to repeat that again. It needs to be dark. However, also, public service announcement, please have some night lights, maybe that are like motion censored or something like that if you need for when you get up in the middle of the night. So that you know like where you're walking. But our brains are wired overall to associate darkness with sleeping and light with waking up. So even small amounts of light from like a street light outside, or again, like a night light that's on the whole time, or like a glowing display of a clock or a TV or like a fan light or something like that can signal your brain that it's time to be alert and it's time to wake up. So blackout curtains like are a wonderful investment if light is an issue for you, or an inexpensive sleep mask can also work beautifully. Sometimes I know people will take and if they don't want to, if you don't want to buy a sleep mask or something, they'll literally take like a washcloth and fold it in half and like put that over top of their eyes, or something. So you don't have to get fancy with it. You can, or a sock or something. Like, I mean, make sure it's a clean sock, please. I mean, otherwise gross. But point is here, takeaway, you can get creative with it. It doesn't have to be like a sleep mask per se. But temperature here also matters a lot, way more than people realize. So the temperature of your bedroom. Because what happens is your body temperature naturally will drop slightly as you fall asleep. And a cool room will help to support that process. So most sleep experts recommend keeping the bedroom temperature anywhere between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, that sounds a little chilly, and I get that. So that's where, a lightweight blanket can help you feel comfortable while the room, stays cool. You need to obviously make sure you have like blankets and your sleep attire matching for what, is going to be good temperature wise for you. But that's like the temperature range that people are able to sleep best in and stay asleep in. Because if you get like super hot, or vice versa, you're super cold as well, then you're gonna wake up, especially like if you're sweaty, or something, or again, like if you're sleeping in bed with someone and they steal the covers, then you have none and you are freezing. So your body is going to cue itself like, warning, and it'll wake you up. So this whole temperature of the room is important, but your own temperature. And again, if you're somebody going through menopause, there are really cool different sheets now that are like cooling sheets. There's even like cooling pillowcases and all kinds of different things. So we have options nowadays in sleep technology land, people. That's fantastic. So look into some of those should you need. Also, quiet is good. That's what we need. That's what we're looking for. At least like a consistent sound. That's important. Like a little, almost like a little white noise kind of a sound, or like the fan, having the same kind of consistent sound is important, or maybe it's like an air purifier or something. But if noise is a problem in your environment, like I said, that little white noise thing can help. Fan can kind of help. But white noise, so like what is it? What does that even mean? So white noise like can mask disruptive sounds kind of by creating like a steady, neutral kind of background, like hum kind of noise. So you can find white noise apps even on your phone, which is pretty cool for free. Or there's even white noise videos on YouTube that you can pull up on your phone as well that work perfectly as well. And those are handy too, especially like for my people that travel, etc. Because there are little like white noise machines. But however, like if you don't have to haul one of those little things around with you, even better. Or same thing, like if you don't have to have one of those like in the bedroom somewhere, again, taking up space, even better. And finally, what you think about really like your bedroom, like what is it kind of like used for, right? So your bedroom, should be a place for sleep and rest, not for watching TV. not for working on your laptop, not for scrolling through social media. When your brain learns that the bedroom means sleep, that's what we're going to be doing in here, sleep and calm and chill. It starts to prepare for rest as soon as you walk in the room. And that can be like really, really powerful. So another thing here that we want to make sure we're doing is limiting our screen time and caffeine. So this tends to get a lot of pushback on this one, but the science, guys, is clear. So avoiding screens specifically, so screens meaning like your computer, your TV, your phone, etc. And caffeine for sure, at least 1 to 2 hours before bed makes a significant difference in your sleep quality. So let's start with screens. Again, your tablet, your phone, your computer, television, all the things, etc. But like, why is that a problem? So they all emit what's called blue light. And blue light specifically suppresses or decreases, right, the production of melatonin. And as we learned in the last video, melatonin is the hormone that your brain releases at night to signal that, okay, it's time to go to sleep. We need to start shutting down. And when you're scrolling through Facebook or watching TV at night, up until the moment you turn off the light to go to bed, it's essentially like telling your brain to stay alert even as you're trying to actually like physically wind down. So some devices have like a night mode or like a warm screen setting that helps to reduce the blue light. And that can help somewhat, but the most effective strategy is to simply just put the screens away if possible. Okay, and now I want to be realistic here. So a lot of us watch television in the evening, and if that's a long-standing habit, going completely screen-free might feel like a really big ask. So start again with what feels manageable. So even cutting out screens 30 minutes before bed is, better than nothing at all. So work toward a 1 to 2 hour window over time, but just, start somewhere that you can. Caffeine is another really important piece of this. So many people know that a cup of coffee at 9 o'clock at night is going to keep them up. But what surprises many people really is how long caffeine actually stays in your system. So in doctor land, sometimes you might have heard of this like term called half-life. Sometimes, in medical land, a lot of times we're going to be talking to you about half-life, or a pharmacist might tell you, they might throw out the word half-life. But a lot of times we're talking about medications. And when we're talking about medications, usually for you guys, we're talking about how long does that medication stay in your system, like full potency, and then how long is it like kind of like its potency, like, okay, like its potency is kind of like cut in half after this amount of time, sort of. And that's usually kind of what we're talking about. But however, caffeine, same thing. It's a stimulant, kind of like a drug, basically like that. Like kind of like a medication. Think about it like that in terms of for this purpose. But caffeine has a half-life of about 5 to 6 hours, which means if you have a cup of coffee at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, half of that caffeine is still circulating around in your body at 8 p.m. or 9 p.m. in the evening. So some people, and older adults tend to metabolize caffeine more slowly. So the effects can take even longer for some of those people. So a good general guideline is to have your last caffeinated beverage, whether that is going to be soda, maybe it's going to be tea, energy drink, coffee, etc., no later than noon or 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And where people also, screw this up is you have to remember that caffeine, again, is not just in the things I just, listed, is not just in coffee, tea, soda, energy drinks, but caffeine is also in like black tea, green tea. Like if you're having a cup of green tea at night, warm green tea. Make sure you have decaffeinated green tea. Again, a lot of sodas have it in there. So for a lot of people, especially some of the older generation, some of them, and, not a great idea. I'm not, I'm not, proposing that you do this by no means, but a lot of the older generation, they would have what they would call, quote unquote, a nightcap, right? So they would have a drink, like an alcoholic drink at night when they're, sitting down, they're relaxing, they're watching TV, before they go to bed. Well, okay, but if you're going to be mixing, your alcohol with soda potentially, then okay, like there's your caffeine, right there, hidden in that soda potentially, which you don't want to do either one of those things, but you super don't want to be doing that caffeinated soda that late at night. So the other thing to think about too is like some medications also actually contain caffeine. So check your labels and again, talk to your pharmacist if you're not sure. And some medications also, again, are going to be stimulants. So sometimes we see that, especially with like ADD meds or ADHD meds or different things like that. Most of the time for those kind of people, a stimulant will actually like calm them down, and, make them more stable feeling. But again, some people like react differently to stimulant kind of medication. So check with your pharmacist and see. Another thing that we absolutely have to talk about here too is your pre-sleep routine. And for a lot of people, there is a lack thereof a pre-sleep routine. So again, this fourth one is supposed to establish just a common, consistent pre-sleep routine, which is going to be like a wind down ritual that signals your body and your mind like, okay, it's time. We got to start transitioning from whatever activity you were doing before in the rest of your day to starting to transition to like the rest of your night. And think of this kind of like as a bridge between your daytime self and your sleeping and recovering self. Okay. So what you do in that last hour or so before bed really does matter. And it matters for, this reason. So some ideas that work well for many people include like some gentle stretching sometimes or some little light yoga. You don't have to think about it being like that per se, but it doesn't have to be strenuous, but it can just be a few quiet little stretches to kind of release some of the tension that you've been carrying in your body all day. It can be a little soothing. A really common one that a lot of people will do is like to read a book, even if a physical book, even if you literally only read like 2-3 pages a night, great. You don't even have to read like a full chapter necessarily, but you just want it to be not on a screen. And so this is a wonderful like wind down activity. Some people along the lines of this also too will journal. So they'll do like their little gratitude journal. Some people will take time, at night like this to to connect with something like spiritual. So they will, like let's just an example. There's obviously like all kinds of religions and cultures and all the things, but just a quick example. So maybe somebody might read, a little section every night, like out of the Bible, or something like that. Or maybe they're following like a read the Bible in a year plan or something. So that's their time that they'll get it out and, read it. Just an example. So again, there's a lot of different things you can do like that in terms of like reading or writing stuff down. A warm bath or a shower is also like excellent to kind of start cueing the body. And you'll also have that drop in body temperature that happens too when you get out, which actually kind of helps your body again to signal that it is time for getting ready for sleep. So some other people find, again, like I said, kind of that journaling helps. And I just kind of want to come back to that for a second because I know I said that, but Another, I think, really powerful thing that writing, at night can do is it helps you also, like, for the journaling and, like I said, the gratitude journaling. So you can jot down a few things you're grateful for. Um, the other thing this is a beautiful time for is just getting all that stuff out of your mind. Um, so that it doesn't keep spinning around, at 2 o'clock in the morning. So again, anything you need to add to your to-do list, anything that you're like thinking about, anything maybe that happened that day that you're just like, not feeling super great about, that you might need to, look into more tomorrow, that you're worried about, etc. Just write it down. Besides the gratitude, the great, awesome stuff, write that stuff down. But, also, like your highlights of the day, things that were really cool, things that were neat, maybe something that you learned that day. That's also kind of fun, but get all the stuff out of your head so that it doesn't keep spinning around in there while you're trying to, again, like lay down. Other people too, like, besides like reading something, spiritual, people will also sometimes, a lot of times, like take this kind of time also to put it in rotation. It's part of the habit. They'll like enjoy prayer or like meditation, um, maybe some quiet like breathing exercises, but just sitting in a comfortable chair with a cup of decaffeinated, yes, decaffeinated herbal tea, of course, is good. And letting your mind be still, even just for a few minutes, can help be beautiful, like pre-sleep rituals. So the key here is going to be consistency. When you do the same calming things in the same kind of order before bed, at night, night after night after night, these activities then become a cue for your brain. Your brain learns, okay, this is what we do before we sleep. And it starts to prepare itself accordingly. So again, starts to kind of start releasing the melatonin, dropping your body temperature, and slowing the chatter in your brain down for the day. And over time, your pre-sleep routine can actually make falling asleep like much faster and easier. And even, along with this too, this your pre-sleep thing, routine, this is where you can like brush your teeth. This is where you can, also like wash your face, put on all your, 15 different serums and lotions and whatever, and all the things too. But again, your body starts to learn and recognize, okay, we're doing these things. And, oh, maybe you need to take medications like right before you go to sleep. So same thing. But just kind of, maybe like get out a piece of paper and maybe like write out literally what might be a good plan that you might want to try. And and it's, and again, as like cheesy as it might sound and as simple and basic as it might sound, just write it out and maybe just try that plan for like a couple days, a week, something, commit to however long you're going to try it. And then maybe you change it. You're like, okay, that whole stretching thing, did not like that at all. Take that out. And maybe you're going to, like I said, read 3 pages of some book, okay, put that in. So you can swap out some different things in there. And again, it doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to get this right away. So now I'm going to spend a little time on the good news for you, because all of this work we're talking about and all of these habits and routines lead to somewhere wonderful. Because when you commit to better sleep hygiene, the benefits really are real and significant and are often felt quite quickly, which are really cool. So, with that being said, one of the first things that people are going to notice when they start sleeping better is often a shift in their emotional quality. So, they're going to have improved mood and mental clarity. So sleep quality restores emotional balance. And when you're well rested, you experience way better decision making, reduced anxiety, and general resilience. So really that kind of steadiness then that helps you handle whatever the day throws at you without feeling overwhelmed. And the mental clarity part is going to give you like a sharpening of focus and memory and concentration. And that's another really early win. We'll take it. So many older adults worry about their memory and cognitive sharpness. And while sleep is really, I mean, again, not a cure all by no means. And again, public service announcement, you get checked out by a sleep doctor, sleep medicine doctor, if you think you might have sleep apnea, because that could be contributing this all some of this mental clarity stuff too, and other things, in your body as well too. So throwing that in here real quick again. But, again, it's like, it's one of the most genuinely important things you can do to support your brain, and your body as well. So a well-rested brain, like we talked about, the first one kind of processes information more effectively, and it's going to retain memories also more reliably and stay sharper throughout the day. Next one is going to be increased energy and productivity. So consistent restorative sleep helps to fuel your daytime performance in ways that are hard to overstate. So when you're sleeping well and you wake up with like actual energy, so not the kind that depends on your third cup of coffee to kick in, but real, actual, sustainable, clear, crisp kind of energy that can carry you throughout the whole entire day. And you'll likely find that tasks then feel like less burdensome. And as you move through your day with more efficiency, because you're going to have better mental clarity for decision making, what we learned a second ago. So you're going to be able to be more efficient, like also with your time, that you're also going to have more motivation then as well to do the things that you love. So whether that's spending time with a grandchild, working in your garden, having the energy to like take a walk, the energy physically and mentally to think about and or do like volunteering, pursuing a hobby. Sleep is really like the fuel and kind of that starting point that helps to make all of that possible. So again, then we have the better health and immune function. So there are longer term health benefits, which are substantial with good sleep. So regular quality sleep helps to strengthen your immune system, helps to fight off illness, and it also helps your body to recover more quickly when you get sick, or also like if you're, trying to recover maybe from like a hip surgery or some kind of like injury that you might have had as well. It's absolutely key. So it supports also good cardiovascular health by giving your heart and your blood vessels also time to wind down and rest and repair. Helps to regulate blood sugar. Again, like we talked about the first one, support like healthy weight and reduces inflammation as well throughout the body, which is key. And it's huge as we age, because as we age, who comes to visit us? Our lovely friend Arthur. I'm joking, by the way. Arthur is our friend in medical land that we, short name for arthritis. So arthritis, yeah, comes to visit all of us usually as we get older. And that just is one quick little example of inflammation, right, in our body. So again, sleep can help with, some of the inflammation and help get some of that stuff cleared. Good sleep, as we are sleeping at night, so the inflammation's getting cleared out, which we love. So, consistent good sleep also is going to reduce the risk of developing chronic sleep disorders and, serious health conditions that come along with them, including cardiovascular disease, diabetes, cognitive decline, etc., like we talked about earlier. So, again, like investing in your sleep is really like one of the most important things that you can really do to start taking care of yourself. And again, it costs nothing. It has no side effects that are bad, and the returns are enormous. So you have to think, I think of sleep being being something that you have to make like a priority, because really like everything else becomes a lot harder. when you don't really have good sleep. And so kind of that's like the foundation that needs to happen for your body to be able to, just clean itself up at night, like I said, and for you to be able to um, think clearer, and everything else then will get like a lot easier for people. So, again, sleep hygiene, it's not complicated, it doesn't have to be complicated. But what my challenge you would be, take a piece of paper and write out what might be like a good plan. Like we're going to call it the sleep hygiene plan. And we're going to just try it for like a week, maybe, less days, like 4, 5, 6 days. But we're going to write it out. We're going to like take our medications. We're going to, read a couple pages in a book. We're going to do our gratitude journal. We're going to, do our, brush our teeth. We're going to do our prayers. We're going to, whatever it is that we're going to do, right? We're going to put our pajamas on, whatever. But like write it out, kind of what you're going to do. And the thing I will say that you will find that is surprising, because you know how we talked about trying to like cut screens out at like 30 minutes initially. But ideally, like if we could cut out screens, or at least like kind of like that blue light, along with screens, an hour to 2 hours before we actually like go to bed, right? The fun thing is that you'll find when you start like doing all the activities that you really want to do to kind of start like winding down, your evening, in transitioning your sleep hygiene plan, we're going to call it, is like this stuff takes actually like almost about an hour, depending on how long, you take to do kind of each one of these different activities, wash your face, whatever, or maybe, take a shower at night. All this stuff can take a while, which is great because that fills up our time, which is lovely. And again, on our sleep hygiene plan, we're going to put on there about goal-ish time that we want to go to bed. But like I said, I want you to think about a time, like a consistent wake up time, that no matter whatever the time ends up being that you go to sleep, like non-negotiable, you're going to try to wake up at this time every day. Because again, that wake up time, if we remember, is really the time that's going to set your circadian rhythm for the whole entire day. So that's when the cueing starts, for your body to start knowing. That's like the timer starts for your body to know like when it starts to need to start producing the melatonin, and it needs to start like producing all the right hormones and all the things that happen for your body to start winding down at night. So that part is key. You got to get that wake up time consistent. You got to get that right. So that is my challenge, my ask, my all the things, of you guys. So definitely, like do that this week. And, lastly, again, talk to your doctor. If you think that you might have sleep apnea, absolutely, or some kind of like insomnia issue, or again, like for some people, like if you have restless leg syndrome, like we talked about in the first one, maybe you also like are getting up, like urinating a lot of times in the middle of the night. That's really disruptive. So especially for some of the guys, they can have, especially as they age, they can have like prostate issues, whether, benign a lot of times, or not. But that can make them have to have more like frequency, going to the bathroom, kind of situation. So there can be things like that too. Again, that physiologically can be going on that we need to get addressed first before we're going to be able to execute a beautiful, stay asleep, plan. But yeah, please also commit to me that you will get those things checked out. And again, thank you all for joining me. And as always, like and follow us on Facebook and subscribe to YouTube channels so you don't miss important content like this. And definitely, leave questions and let us know if you try some of these things out and they work well for you, because again, success leaves clues. And so we love when you guys can share with each other what is working so that you can help empower other people as well to have good success. So Thank you all for joining me today, and we will see you guys in the next one. Take care of yourselves and each other.